Good morning, Anne-Mari Nano. How are
Good
you?
morning. I am good. How are you doing?
I am so elated to have you here and to continue our conversation that we were having not too long ago when we decided to go on a hike and have an impromptu photo shoot.
hmm
And it
So
was
fun.
it was so fun and it was so wonderful to discover that my friend Annie is not only a model, not only a coach, but she's also a photographer and she's a damn good one at that.
Thank you. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just a hobby, but it's so fun. It's so fun to be creative and like be outside with friends. Like even if nothing comes from it, it's just like really enjoyable.
it is. And I think that when you model and you've done enough of it, you develop this eye for knowing what it takes to create a well composed, beautifully lit photograph.
That's why I feel like you picked it up so quickly because you were like, "Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't done this. I'm gonna do it wrong." And then I'm like, "No, you got it. Like within a few shots, you already had the framing. You had the different angles. You were going down low."
I discovered it was you, and you were so sweet to me when it was my turn to pick up the camera and take pictures of you because I wanted it to be a back and forth. I did not want it to be all about, you taking pictures of me because that's not fun. I want it to be a collaboration. But because you were so encouraging and it helped me to come out and like explore more. So thank you for that.
Mm, thanks for sharing
And I will
that.
tell you that I've had some very professional photographers in my life, and I have not felt as comfortable with them as I have with you in
Mm.
in picking up a camera and playing with it. So again, thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that comes from my own kind of experience of wanting to feel safe trying something new. Because as soon as there's any sort of like pressure, expectation, I feel like we get so in our head about it. But if
Yeah,
you can just like release of like, nothing needs to like, we're just learning, we're just having fun. And I feel like that's where you actually get the most growth is when you're in that more playful and relaxed mindset. So I know that
absolutely.
helps me a lot. Yeah.
It helps me too. And I love that you verbalize that because you can apply that to anything that you're learning, right? And it makes me think of you and modeling. And was that the kind of mindset you went in with when you started to model? What did that look like? Were you scared? Could you look into
Mm.
the barrel of a lens?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because, yeah, we were talking about that. Like, looking into the barrel of the lens is actually like a quite intimate, intense thing. I think I was lucky because the way that I got into modeling was uh, I was working at Lululemon for the time, and it was back when stores used to take their own like product photography. There would be like an in-house like educator or photographer, and they would take photos of like the new product. So I was just, doing a photo shoot with a friend, having fun. I was, we were doing running stuff and I'm a runner. So that just felt so natural to me. And it was just a fun rainy day. We took photos. And then from that, that's how when the producers reached out to my store manager and was like, hey, we're interested in bringing Anne-Marie in for a shoot. So that's kind of how it started. It was totally just from a place of fun and experimentation. And then it turned into that.
Whoa, that is so much like my story. That's why this is kind of crazy. I was modeling before, but I got into fitness modeling because of Lululemon. I was also working at the
Mm.
store, at their flagship store in Santa Monica. And just like you, I was an educator and I was doing some product photography and having fun. And, it's not paid, so it's like zero pressure. But then it became something, and then it became paid, and then there was travel. And
hmm
I think mine happened at the almost identical time as yours.
Yeah, because we worked with a lot of the same photographers and same team, which is so wild.
That is so wild. And you were in Canada at the time?
Yeah, I was at the Vancouver flagship store.
Whoa, we were both at flagship stores. That's
Yeah.
insane. And then on top of that, our worlds met up again because you were interested in Girls on the Run, the nonprofit organization that I've been volunteering with for years now. You were also interested in them, so you had reached out.
Yeah. And I think we just hopped on a phone call and chatted for like an hour.
We did. I remember that. And then I found out you're also with Naturally Fit, which is one of our agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
and then we booked Skechers together last year. And then I realized you go to the Hollywood Bowl for Saturday Stairs. The world,
yeah.
the universe keeps bringing us together. Do you realize that?
So fun. It's so crazy. So many little things because like also like LA in itself is huge. So the
It's
fact that
huge.
we've like overlapped that many times is
Yeah.
so interesting.
This last meeting with you on the hike was extra special because I got to learn more about you in a way that I hadn't known before. You were talking to me about this book that you're currently reading. Are you still reading the same book?
Yeah, I just started it, so I'm only like still at the beginning. But it's
Okay.
stuff that I'm already really interested in, so a lot of it was familiar.
Remind me of the title?
The expectation effect.
Ooh, the expectation effect. And all right, tell me what's the most recent thing you've learned?
I think it's a lot of just reiteration of the same thing of how important your mindset is with everything that you do. If you think something's going to be good for you, it's going to be good for you. If you think it's going to be bad for you, then it's going to have negative consequences. And that can be how you view things that you eat, what you view as exercise. The mind just plays such an important role. And I think we all know that, but it's just seeing many examples of it, I'm like, whoa, this is really fascinating and something we should think about more often.
All right, well, let's start simple because I love all of that and I'm terribly interested in it. Let's start with the
Mm.
example of food. And let's talk about what are one of your vices? What is one of your cheat foods?
I know we talked about this on the hike where I definitely have a sweet tooth and I don't like love the term cheat because I'm very much like, food's on a spectrum. There's no good or bad. It's just, eat more of this, less of this. But I think, yeah, I've always loved sweet things. So that
Like
is kind
cookies?
of cookies. Yeah. Honestly, cookies are one of my favorite.
Okay, perfect. Let's use
Yeah.
cookies.
Mm-hmm.
So, what this book is reminding you of is how you decide to feel about a cookie when you decide to indulge in eating a cookie matters.
Mm-hmm.
You could think of it as negative, or you could think of it as positive, or maybe something in between. What is your take on that?
I think it's like if you make the decision to eat something, you should be able to be fully present and enjoy it. I think if we just look at it as you're being bad, it's terrible for you, you're not going to feel good afterwards. And that just like adds way more stress to your plate. I think all of us have a pretty high like baseline level of stress, our jobs, the life that we live. And if we, add more stress to it by having something that can be like a really wonderful experience, maybe having something sweet with a friend and like going out to get ice cream, that can be a really wonderful thing for your soul and for that friendship. But if you're just thinking, hey, this is bad for me, I feel guilty, that's just like kind of sets you like in a shame cycle. Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's more about being able to enjoy it and having those moments. And that's, part of life. And it's just not doing it all the time, having it be something really special.
Yeah. I love that, and I love the way that you worded it and saying like that's just adding more stress to your plate. I think that that's
Mm.
really important because a lot of people who have issues with eating, they eat when they're stressed. They're stress
Mm-hmm.
eaters.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, my vice is salt. It's
Oh.
not sweets, it's salt. I
Mm.
can go to town on some salt. If you put a soft pretzel in front of me, I will destroy
Ooh.
it and then I will try to find another one. If they're in my house, my mentality is, oh, okay, I have a bag of 6. Well, we can't waste it. That's not going to get
Mm.
wasted. This is not a house where wasting happens. So we have to eat it and you cannot parse it out. You need to finish it as quickly as possible so it's out of your house as quickly as possible. So why don't you eat 3 of them today and 3 of them tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's me. That's me. I have a
Mm.
problem. So that stuff cannot live in my house because I know what I'll do. If I took your advice, or not even your advice, but your interpretation of what this book is saying, I would say, well, I'm going to make that pretzel and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. I'm just going to savor every single bite. But if I eat 6, then we're kind of out of balance. What do you have to say to that?
Well, first I was curious, and I can relate to that too. When I have cookies in the house, I'm like, these need to be gone. I need to eat them, and I also had that feeling around I can't waste it. I'm curious if anything from like childhood comes up around like not
Oh,
wasting food or
big time, big time.
yeah.
Because I grew up pretty poor, and food didn't really last that long in the house. I was always hungry. I always had a voracious appetite. I couldn't put weight on, and I was always
Mm,
eating, 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 eating. And so I know my dad wasn't the kind of person where wasting was, you couldn't waste, but that wasn't a problem because I just always ate so much. But I did pride myself when I was younger on how much I could eat, because my dad was kind of proud of how much I could eat. That's real. That's a real
yeah.
thing.
Totally. And that's like how so many of our habits start. It's something from childhood, like you making your dad feel proud. Like that would be in itself a reason to be, want to eat more and not waste food because it's expensive. Like, I think we're often so critical of ourselves of like, oh, I can't believe I have no control. And it's like, well, it's often started from something, very young. It's something to help you feel good. It's like a coping mechanism. So when you understand more of the root, okay, why is this happening? I feel like that's when you can start to make more progress.
This is already becoming a therapy session, and I'm the patient, and I love it.
Oh
I don't
my
know how
gosh.
you did that, but you just worked that little magic in there. I see you. I see you. And you're making me think like, hey, Kat, you can't use that excuse anymore of like, oh, it's in your house, you
Mm,
have to eat it. I have to be stronger than that because I clearly know I have a problem. Certain foods cannot exist in my house, and if they do, I will destroy them.
mm,
I can't parse them out. I can't, it's just not in my nature. So
yeah.
I need to look at that. It hasn't been a problem because I'm obviously healthy, but it's not that I don't have my struggles, because I would
Mm,
assume that you also have your
hmm.
struggles. Just because you look fit and you're beautiful and you're a coach and you're giving this wonderful sound advice, it doesn't mean that looking the way you do and feeling the way that you do is easy.
Mm. That's a great point. I was thinking the same as you were speaking. When you say that you have a problem, I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. Like, not that I don't believe you, but it's like, again, you look at you and you're so fit and so strong and so healthy in what people are like are trying to be like, or you can be their inspiration. And I think it's acknowledging that as coaches, as people who work in modeling and fitness, we still have struggles too. And that's all part of the human experience. So with my sweet tooth, I don't think it's, super detrimental, but I don't like how it controls me. And I feel like I often use it as a vice, or I use it to self-soothe, or if I'm having an everyday, I don't like how it preoccupies my mind. So it's almost like I'm seeking this thing out. And some people might say I'm overthinking it, but that's how I feel in my body. And I would like to have a better relationship with it, with sugar. And I do at times. It kind of goes in waves. I often will, be like, okay, I'm gone a little bit too much to this side of the spectrum. And then I'll like reduce it a lot for a while and then get to a better place. And then, slowly start to bring it back in. And I kind of cycle through it a little bit. So yeah, nobody's perfect. We're all working through things. And I think that's important to recognize.
I wonder what is the distinction between someone like you and the person who really struggles with losing weight and kind of loses the battle when it
Mm,
comes to the foods that they know they should eat but don't.
mm.
What's the difference?
It's tough because there can be so many things. And I'm in a situation where I don't have any kids. I don't have any family members to look after. So already there, I have this gift of time that many people don't have. Being an athlete my whole life, working out is it's just like it's something I do. I don't have to think about it. I'm always going to make time for it. But for someone who's maybe new to working out, new to eating healthy, that can feel like so much all at once to focus on, and nothing is like a habit for them yet. And Yeah, I think we forget what everyone's constraints are. Yeah, the fact that I don't have kids, that gives me so much time. And that makes things so much easier versus someone who has to get up early, make everyone else's lunches and things like that.
That is such a great point. Nobody on my podcast has ever mentioned that before. I also don't have kids because I have chosen not to. That has freed up so much time for me to focus on my health. I have so many close friends and family who have children and large families and very, very busy lives with other people. And it preoccupies them and it takes away from their self-care time.
Mm,
It takes away from their sleep, which I
yeah.
think is one of the most important pivotal factors in overall health. If you're not getting enough sleep, your body doesn't have enough time to repair and rejuvenate and to allow that food to process and for it to do what it needs to do, and so that you can lose the weight more naturally. You're like
Yes.
in this higher stress state because of the lack of sleep. And so I acknowledge you for mentioning that, but that's also a lifestyle choice. You have chosen this lifestyle, at least for now, where you don't have children and you don't have people that you're taking care of.
Yeah, I think that's so important on the sleep piece. And yeah, it's tough. I think people who have all those restraints, they really have to work harder. I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not in their situation, but the greatest gift that you can give your family is to take care of yourself and to set an example. So, however you can figure out how to carve out that time, it's not being selfish. Again, like your kids are going to appreciate that so much more as they get older, seeing you healthy. And I feel like so many parents are so selfless. They put everyone else first, which is so wonderful and kind. But at the end of the day, the people that care about them want them to put themselves first. So again, I don't have the answers for those people, but it's just like a perspective I like to share.
And I love hearing that because I don't hear that too often. I love that. I think you have to meet people where they're at, and if you don't have the same lifestyle as them, you have to have that understanding of what it must be like to have less time and less energy. But I'm right there with you. When I see, especially mothers who are just endlessly giving themselves to their partners, to their children, to their in-laws, to their own parents, it's like, well, wait a minute. The way that you give more is by making sure that you replenish your own needs and your own energy, however that may
Mm-hmm.
look like. And it might not always be possible, but even like a little bit of self-care, just minutes or a moment or something. So that makes me think you've been an athlete your whole life. You've created this habit of exercise and physical fitness. It's embedded in your DNA. You don't really have to think about it. There's no other way to be. I don't ever see Anne-Mari like just being a couch potato. Like that's not a thing. What do you say to the people who are just getting started and they don't have that habit yet?
Hmm. Few things. I think finding something that you enjoy is really important. I know right now there's a big push on like, you have to strength train, you have to do this, you have to do that. And yes, there's a lot of science to those certain types of workouts, but just getting in the habit of moving as much as possible, like I say, walking to the grocery store and carrying your groceries back. It can seem really simple, but like those things add up. Like some of my like highest calorie burn days for my Aura Ring are days where I literally just clean the house. I'm just
Really?
if I'm like having a big day where I am going to clean everything, I'm just going to, keep moving. And I think we forget that also can be movement too. That can also be exercise. Yeah, like finding more ways to move, having fun, having community, having accountability. Yeah, when I first moved here, that's when I found Saturday Stairs. I Googled, workouts near me, and that was close by to me at the time. And just having people being like, I'll see you next week. And you're like, okay,
It makes a
and
difference.
it does. It really does.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned just walking to the grocery store. If you're in an area where you're within a mile to a mile and a half or whatever you're willing to do, that's what I do. I don't
Yeah.
drive to the grocery store anymore. I'm in between two Whole Foods. So I walk a mile and I carry
Yep.
those groceries back and I get a free farmer's carry out of that. I'm just thinking
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a free workout. That's free vitamin D. That's me
Yes.
feeding my soul. And all of those steps, they accumulate. It doesn't have to be like a grind. You don't have to go to a traditional gym and lift heavy weights and grunt and moan and have the right outfit. You just need to walk. It can be that simple.
Yep.
Or
Totally.
clean your house. I hear
Yes.
you. I mop my house sometimes, the bottom and the top floor, and I don't have an Aura ring, but I do track my steps and they accumulate.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaning
They
your house.
absolutely do. It's also good for like your dopamine system to do something that you don't really want to do. Like a lot of people don't want to like clean their bathroom and all that. But once you do it and you've done it, you're like, wow, I feel really accomplished. So if
Yes.
anyone's kind of stuck in that scrolling or whatever, like if I'm having a lazy Sunday, just doing something where I'm going to give myself 20 minutes and just clean as much as I can and then seeing that progress afterwards, that feels really good, and that can snowball into getting other things done outside of movement. That email that you didn't want to send, getting used to doing those uncomfortable things and then feeling how much better you feel afterwards.
Oh my God, I love that so much because it's very easy for us to want to have a whole lazy day. But I like how you worded it and said, well, wait a minute. Let's just carve out 20 minutes, go clean that bathtub, which is kind of hard. If you're on your hands and knees, that's a full-on workout.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get that rush of dopamine. I love that you mentioned that because that's a real neurochemical effect. And then that has a domino effect. And you're like, well, wait a minute. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And I like you mentioning the email. So it's like movement in itself, it has a domino effect and it can spiral into you accomplishing more and more things.
Yes, totally. It's so funny because sometimes I've noticed this recently when I've done a few 5K races. They haven't been anything serious, but like I still like will run really hard and they will be a really tough effort. The day of the race, I am so productive. I'll run that race in the morning and I feel like I can do anything. That was so hard that everything else in comparison feels easy to me.
Whoa, I haven't
Yeah.
heard that either.
And maybe that's just me, but
That might be just you. No, I'm just kidding. I think that there are certainly other people out there who feel that way. The reason why I said it like that is because I ran a 5K this past weekend and it was my fastest time I've gotten in 10 years.
heck yeah.
Yes. And I
That's
was
amazing.
operating, thank you. I was operating on very little sleep, but I was running on all of these positive emotions, dopamine and serotonin, and just being around my girls from Girls on the Run and just thinking about like all the love in my life. It just got me going and moving and running faster than ever. And afterwards, I was tired. I was tired. I was
You
like, yeah.
emptied your tank. Yeah.
I emptied my tank, but I was kind of buzzing though. I was buzzing on this feeling of satisfaction.
Yeah.
You know what it was? It wasn't that I felt like I could do more. I felt so satisfied.
That's a good feeling.
That is a good feeling. It's important for me to know when to recharge because it's easy for me to get in the cycle of must do more, must do more. This was great. Must do more, must do more. So it's good for me to pull back and say, hey, be proud that you accomplished that. Revel in it. Why don't you just chill?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a really important point because there's kind of like not just two categories of people, but some people, their default will be to do less. They're like, oh, I did that one thing. Okay, I'm going to chill. Your default is to do more. It's to, okay, I'm going to keep going. There's more that I can do. I'm so motivated on XYZ. So for you, your rebellion is to probably do less.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Is like,
I know
your
exactly
default
what
is
you're saying.
So it's like every person's going to be different. So I guess the feedback to tell someone to like, hey, take it easy. Maybe for you, it might be helpful, but for someone else who's not doing as much, they should be doing more.
Yes, exactly. And I have friends on both sides, especially being in our world of fitness. I know too many people who just have to do more. They
Mm,
have to be constantly doing to the point where it's actually a negative in their lives. It's hindering the results they could achieve quicker. But
yes.
because they keep going and keep exhausting, the body and the mind don't have time to fully recover and grow. It's just continuously being taxed.
Yes.
Have you ever felt that before?
Yes. And I agree with everything that you're saying, especially when we have a period of high exertion, whether that's a workout or whatnot. We temporarily get worse, as you know, and then the recovery is what makes us better. And
Yes.
that's how we improve. So if we're just constantly, going down towards the ground and working ourselves till we're exhausted, we aren't really improving. Yeah. So I think that's a really great call.
I've seen this a lot with folks in their late 20s and 30s where they push and they push and they push to see all that they can achieve. What are they
Mm.
capable of mentally and physically? And I see them constantly sore
Mm.
and walking like old people. And
Yeah.
I've been there and I recognize it and I know it so well. And I'm just like, you're going to
Yeah.
learn. I hope you learn when you get
Been there.
older. Have you ever been there?
Yeah. I was gonna say in my 20s, it was just like every moment needed to be filled. Like just from one thing to the next. I remember waking up early, going to a workout class, straight to work, something social, and just filling the day so much. And even with my like reading habits, I used to only read personal development books related to work. And recently I've started reading novels because this actually lets my body relax and reap the benefits of other stuff that I've learned. If I'm constantly trying to apply everything, my brain is so aware of its surroundings. It's like working in overdrive versus getting into a parasympathetic state and getting able to relax and giving myself a break.
Yeah.
And that's can be more productive. And we forget that rest is so productive. So yes, I definitely can relate and have been there.
Okay. With that said, you did mention that you've been reading more novels. However, we started this conversation with you talking about the expectation effect, which is not
Mm-hmm.
a novel. That sounds
Mm-hmm.
like personal growth and development to me.
I know. That's the reason I've only just started it. I've been actually loving the novels and I will fly through those.
Which novel is the most recent that you read or are currently reading?
Yeah, I just read The Vanishing Half and The Nightingale. So The Nightingale is getting turned into a movie, I think in 2027. So,
Okay,
yeah, both
cool.
both really good books.
All right. I might have to check those out. I'm reading The Vampire Lestat.
Uh,
So
I
that's
haven't
an
heard of
Anne
that.
Rice novel, and it's the second book in her series. The first book is Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, so The Vampire Lestat is the second book, and it's
Mm.
it's tantalizing and it's kind of out of this world and surprising in a lot
Oh,
of ways, and it brings up a lot of emotions, and it's really good for me to just disconnect from the world of performance and productivity and just get wrapped up in this fantastical world.
yes, I love that. And I think so many people just assume that they're slow readers or they don't like reading. And I think a lot of times they're just trying to read self-help books or things for personal development. But when you read a novel and just get lost in it, you get to escape, relax, and also just, at least the books that I've read, you get to learn about other people's perspectives, like get brought back to a certain time in history, and you're like, wow, it was like that then. Yeah, I think it's, again, also emotional too. I will cry a lot when I read. And I think
Yes.
that's so healthy and important too.
It really is. It's about balance. Everything that we've been talking about so far is about balance. It's about, you know, eating well, but also allowing yourself to have those things that have been kind of condemned, like the sweets, like too much salt, balancing that out so that, you don't have to be on one end of the spectrum. You can find a healthy balance. I think that that has attributed to my own success is finding that balance because I have been the very regimented, the very strict. I must record every single calorie type of person. And I needed to go through that apparently. Have you ever been that way, or have you ever felt the need?
When I was competing in track and field, I think it was more so just following what my coach told me to do. And that was very regimented. I had a very, strict schedule with school and competing and practices. But I don't know. I still really, I enjoyed it and never felt like all consuming. I wasn't tracking all my food and things like that. I think it helps when you're playing a sport and like working towards something. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I know what
Yeah,
you
but
mean. I know what you
yeah.
mean. When you have a goal, it's easier to focus on the things that are going to help you achieve that goal.
Yes, I think that, and also having like the community aspect of a team too. So it didn't feel like I was living with my teammates and things like that. And it's just like, oh, it was just like what we did. But we would still have fun. We were still in college, and we had that, again, balance of, going to practice together and then going out on the weekends still too. We wouldn't go crazy. Like we obviously were responsible when we were competing and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was never like all or nothing. So I guess after college, I was still really into health and fitness and all that. But I've never been to the extent where I've like lost sense of myself or like been so ingrained in it that I lost a social life or anything like that. Not saying that that's what happened to you, but I know for some people, it can like get taken a little bit too far.
I never had that sense of community until more recently. I did not value community in the way that I do today. And I didn't do sports in the same way that you did in college. So I'm envisioning you having these people to go through the same challenges together.
Yes.
That camaraderie, it means something. I got that later on in life in my mid-30s when I joined CrossFit. And that's why CrossFit will always hold a special place in my heart, because I kid you not, we suffer together. That is one thing that really bonds CrossFitters is we suffer together. We talk about it a lot, and then we do the damn thing. And once we do, we not only feel accomplished, but no matter what, when you go through something with someone else, having that shared experience is everything. Honestly, I think that's the meaning of life, is shared experience.
I think that's beautiful.
It makes life so much more pleasurable, whether you're going through pain together or love or any other kind of emotion, just knowing that you're not alone and you're doing that with someone else. So when it comes to you being in track and field and you've got this team and you have to stay on point with your nutrition, but then you also have the balance of going out on the weekends and enjoying yourselves, that to me is as good as it gets. I didn't have that. I had to figure out a lot of this stuff on my own. And then later on in life, I realized, oh, wait a minute. That stuff's good and it's valuable, but you got to bring people into your life. Go through that, get different perspectives, have accountability partners, create friends who have similar interests so that you can support one another. How do you feel today? Do you feel like you've done a good job at creating community and you have the support that you need?
I think so. I think it's still been challenging moving from Canada to LA, just being somewhere totally new. You're starting from scratch, essentially. Even when I'm traveling, I feel like I look for like run clubs or like, fitness studios, because that's like the quickest way you get to meet people and to have that sense of community. That's why like fitness and sports have played such a big role in my life. Like, again, suffering through things together, like on a team or in CrossFit, brings you so much closer. I think a lot of us are craving that right now too. And I think that's like leading to the insurgence of run clubs right now. They're becoming so popular. So when you go through that run together, that workout together, afterwards, you're like, hey, I feel closer to this person. I feel more connected to them. And then you're sharing goals. They're like working towards this race. You're working towards this race. You go and you cheer each other on. I think that's so wonderful. So yeah, I'm definitely building it here in LA, but it still has taken a little bit of time.
I totally get that. As a child of a military father, we had to move all the time, and like every 3 years, essentially. And so having to create a new community and a new set of friends, it can be really, really tough. I think that as an adult, I've done something very similar to you where I've found Saturday Stares the same way, actually through a couple of different friends. And then volunteering, I think, has been huge. Volunteering is a great way to get involved with your community and find people who are of a similar mindset and typically have great hearts.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
Yeah. I'm wondering, so we've got the fitness, we got the nutrition. Now I want to know about the heart. I want to know about the spirit. What are you currently working on with your heart and your spirit?
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I'm kind of nervous for this question. It's a little bit
Why?
more,
Why are you nervous?
it's a little bit more intimate, a bit more personal. And yeah, but I do try to be open and vulnerable and honest. So this is definitely like my lane of questions. So what am I working towards? I think I'm trying to understand like who I am and what I like love to do at like my very like core. I feel like now I know like I'm online more often than I would like to be. And I feel a lot of us are just seeing a lot of the same things. And I think we start to emulate what we see online, or we think we create a goal based on what someone else is doing. So I'm really working on creating space from that and be like, okay, what do I actually want to bring to the table? What is inherently unique about me? Growing up, I was such a tomboy. I love the NBA and like basketball. And I feel I've kind of shifted away from that part of me because it doesn't really fit the persona that people see when they first meet me. But I'm like, no, there's a reason why I love that. Why do I love that? What about it do I like? So yeah, just getting really curious and getting to know myself a little bit deeper in that way.
I love that. And I never would have guessed that you have tomboy energy. Because to me, you look like such a pretty girly girl. And that's not a bad thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. But for me, like, I'm the tomboy. Like, I'm the one who's playing with the boys in the dirt, throwing the football around. Most of my friends growing up were guys because I don't know. It was just more fun to be active and be outside and ride our bikes and climb the monkey bars and do all that. And I didn't know too many girls who wanted to go hard with
I feel like we would have been friends as kids.
We totally would have. Now that I'm learning about this tomboy side of you. But
Yeah.
but that's good to know for the future. So now, yes, we can do an impromptu photo shoot and embrace our feminine side, but also we can do more quote unquote masculine type stuff where I don't even know what that means anymore because everything's kind of just like blending and bleeding together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I hear you on the social media stuff, especially. That's something that I've been grappling with for a while. I was so resistant to all of that because it just did not feel authentic to me. And then I realized, well, people don't know me. They don't know what I'm about. And if I want to create a brand for myself, and I do, as a trainer, as a model, as a coach, then people need to know who I am. And just, posting a little bit here and there isn't enough. That's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is so that people could get to know me and understand the kind of people I like talking to, people like you who are willing to be vulnerable, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it makes their heart just like a little bit nervous when I ask them, what are you working on? What are you working on spiritually and in your heart? So we got a little bit from you, and I love that. What have you been discovering lately about who Anne-Mari authentically is?
I think something I've been working on is just my tendency to be a people pleaser, and how that's probably stemmed more from, I don't want to say a trauma response, but I know that seems like an extreme thing to say, but if you are agreeable as a kid, you won't get in trouble. It makes everything easier just to be like, yes, I don't care, I don't have an opinion, or assuming that you're more likable if you just go along with the crowd. So it's a way to make friends. Oh, whatever you want to do. And I think that's how I was as a kid for so long. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be as easy as possible and not really share what I'm thinking or my preference. So now it's like a lot of that internal work is like, okay, well, that ties back to my answer to the previous question. It's like, okay, well, what do I think? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Which seems simple and it seems silly. It's okay to disagree with someone that's your friend. You don't have to all be on the same page all the time. And that can help you both grow too and give a different perspective. So yeah, I think really understanding myself better and then speaking up for my thoughts and my opinions more often.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it's good to have disagreements with your friends. If you feel safe and you feel like they are your true friends, it is 100% okay to disagree with them. I have disagreements with my best friends all the freaking time. All the time. They know that Kat has her opinions and she's not going to shy away from them because I have been the agreeable person. I don't want to stir the pot. I don't want to cause any discord. But you know what? That prevents me from being me. And it doesn't give the other person the opportunity, the privilege to see who I actually am and then make an informed decision. Oh, do I really want to be friends with Kat? If you get to be unapologetically yourself, you can have the deepest friendship ever possible. The friends that I've created in the past 10 years are people that I would absolutely die for. And they will be my friends for the rest of my life because they know me. I'm not afraid to confront them. I'm not afraid to disagree with them, but that has taken work because we've also been like this. We have clashed. And it hasn't been pretty the whole time. We've had moments of pause in the friendship where we couldn't talk for a little while because we needed to grow and we needed to figure things out. And I believe that if it's meant to be, people will come back together if they continue to do the work. Does any of that resonate with you?
Totally. I think you're spot on. And yeah, I think it's something I'm working on. And I feel much more, even as of late, I just feel so much more confident in that too. And it's like, we all need to be who we are. And then the right people will stick around and the people that aren't meant for you will leave. And that's how you actually filter out who's meant to be in your life and who's not.
Absolutely. Are you ever afraid of losing a friend because of it?
Now, probably not. When I was younger, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When's the last time you disagreed with someone?
Sometimes I'll disagree in my head and then, oh, I should have said something after. Honestly, a lot of it's in the fitness industry. Everyone has such different perspectives. I usually do speak up where even if it's not said in a negative way, it's like, hey, this is actually what I'm thinking or what I'm seeing. And I think generally people in the industry are really open to collaborating and talking it through because we're all still figuring a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of conflicting information.
Yes.
Can you give me an example of when you did actually speak your mind and it was different from what you were hearing?
I can't think of an exact example at this moment. I think in general, what I bring to the table in the fitness industry is like a bit of a softer approach or more of when I worked at like a bigger box gym, a lot of bros, a lot of dudes, not saying that they all have the same perspective in the fitness industry, but it can be very focused on, okay, these are the exercises that we're doing. This is the program. And I like to bring in more of the human aspect of things. What is this person going through right now? How can you tie this back to their goals a little bit more? So I know that's very vague, but just like bringing more of the human element to it and why someone is there. And that a lot of people aren't motivated by lifting super heavy or hitting a certain number on their bench press. It's finding out what's unique about this person and why that's important to them, because the general population isn't as excited about lifting as trainers are. So
that is not vague at all. I think that is crucial. And I have found great success in sharing that same mentality with my own clients because I have been that person, especially when I first started as a trainer. I was like, okay, we're going to do ABC and that's it. And you're going to do it well and you're going to breathe and we're just going to focus on the mechanics and good form. And then you realize that is important, but there's a huge part that we're missing. You're working with a human being with feelings and a background. And did they get enough sleep last night? And are they going through a breakup? Did their kids keep them up all last night? Are they sick? Are they frustrated? Did they just lose their job? Like, there's this human aspect that has to be considered. And we could call it the softer side, but I like that, actually. It is a softer side. It's more well-rounded and more encompassing, and I think you can actually get to people more deeply and help them achieve their goals quicker and keep them long-lasting is if you truly see them beyond just the programming. I remember when I first started and I was really worried about the programming, and this other trainer said to me, "Oh girl, that's the easy part. Creating the program is the easy part." And I didn't understand what she meant until I got into the thick of it and realized, snap, even though I'm not a therapist, and I always tell people I am not a trained therapist, that is outside of my scope. You should have a therapist because I think they're so healthy to have that relationship. But you're a little bit like a therapist.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
That's so funny. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I agree the part of outside. I've often said, okay, this is outside my scope of practice. But it's something I've been working through is obviously not being too soft and too gentle. Like, oh, it's okay. You know, we didn't have a great sleep. We're not going to do this last set. But still holding someone accountable, still pushing them, but then acknowledging, hey, okay, you're really struggling, or this is really affecting you. We need to switch this. So it's like a marriage of all that together.
Yeah, it really is. What is something that you see in your job that frustrates the hell out of you?
Ooh. We talked about a lot of conflicting information in the fitness industry, not getting clear answers or not being able to help my client if they have some sort of pain or something that they're dealing with. Sometimes they go to PT and sometimes it helps, sometimes it does nothing. And not being able to really help them or not being able to find an answer to that. And then going on the internet and doing my research and hearing like so many conflicting things. So now when someone comes to me and they say like, all right, I'm feeling this pain in my knee, my brain is like, okay, well, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this. And trying to filter through that information, that's the challenging part because there is no set answer. And you really need to use your best judgment and with the person in front of you and make the best decision. But I always just want to help people get better and reach their goals. And sometimes it's a long process to get there, and that can be really frustrating.
It can be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating for them, but it's frustrating for us too, because we want them so badly to achieve. But at least for me, I've discovered they have to go through whatever they're going through for as long as they need to go through it. And that might be years.
Yeah.
That might be years.
Yeah.
What is one of the best things about your job?
I think when people do reach those goals or they achieve a new goal that they hadn't even realized was one of their goals, like becoming a person that they didn't even think was possible.
I love that. I love that.
What would you say to that?
Very similar. I mean, if not the exact same answer. I'm thinking of a specific client right now who had never worked out a day in his life. And I got him when he was like in his late 50s. And he had the worst posture ever and could barely do a plank. And he was so self-deprecating and all this negative self-talk. And I just kept saying, that's not going to serve you. We don't need any of that. I know you're trying to be funny right now, but it does have an effect. And years later, the man is deadlifting over 200 pounds and can do pull-ups and endless push-ups and burpees and all the things, and has run multiple half marathons. And he never thought any of this was possible. But the biggest takeaway was when he shared with me a couple weekends ago that he was able to play with his grandchildren and run with them during a 5K. And sometimes the simplest goal, something so sweet as being active with your grandchildren, is everything.
Yeah.
And we take that stuff for granted. You don't realize that the stuff we're doing to our bodies now, but you pay a price. So you have to start taking care of your body now. And it's never too late to get started. But I will say this, as you get older, it gets harder and harder and harder because the body's continuing to age and break down. And so set up the good habits now.
Yes.
What's the advice that you would give to people who really want to get into health and fitness, but they feel overwhelmed? They don't even know how to get started. What would you say to that
Mm,
person?
I would say starting small in like a realistic sense in building those habits first. I think it is so overwhelming to do everything, especially right now. We've had so much access to health and fitness information, so much more than we ever have before. I'll meet people and they'll know a lot of stuff of what they should be doing. It's often not working in reality because it's this long list of things, this really long morning routine. And I think it's peeling it all back of what can you start with right now? Can you start your day with a walk in the sunshine
Yeah.
around your block for 15 minutes? That's going to have a number of effects. It's going to help reduce stress. It's going to help you wake up seeing the sunlight in your eyes. It's going to get some movement, some steps in, and you're going to feel accomplished for that day. So it's something that actually feels repeatable for you and that you enjoy doing. If someone's like, oh, my plan is to get up an hour earlier than I have and go to this workout class, and I'm just going to force myself to get up. I'm like, as soon as you're in this place of forcing and cutting out your sleep, that's usually not sustainable unless someone's highly motivated or for a very short period of time. Like if someone
Yeah.
is about to get married in a few months and they are really motivated, they can do some pretty tough stuff for a few months, but then it's just going to stop afterwards. So it's like, okay, what is like a habit that I can stick to that feels good and I feel better doing it, so you can actually keep doing it and
Yes.
not just stop.
Yes. What you're saying is we're going to implement small changes to your lifestyle.
Hmm.
We're not talking about temporary changes. We're
Hmm.
talking about long-lasting lifestyle changes. And that's why you might need to start small, because it's going to feel overwhelming if you're not already living a healthy lifestyle. I love your recommendation or your example of the 15-minute walk, because in my mind that seems doable. And if it's not, how about 10 minutes? How about 5 minutes? How about using half the amount of sugar that you use in your coffee or your tea?
Yeah.
They might seem small, but those little habits compound over time, and you're setting yourself up for success so that when you are ready to take on the next small challenge, it feels good and it feels natural and it doesn't feel forced. You want to, because you've done it in a way where it's palatable.
Yes, I love that. I love that example of the coffee. And it's, again, simple. That's why it's hard to give everyone the exact same piece of advice. So it's like, okay, well, what does your day look like right now? Okay, you're eating this cereal for breakfast. How about we're swapping it with oatmeal, or we're putting protein powder in your oatmeal? Something that's already part of your routine,
Yes.
that's very little effort, because often when we pick those initial goals, we have this really big wave of motivation, whether it's you just had a birthday and you're like, I am ready now. And that motivation goes down after a while. So what are those things that you can do after you've had a terrible night's sleep? You just feel groggy. You hate everyone. What are those habits that you can still maintain? Because a lot of
Yes.
days feel like that.
A lot of days feel like that. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think that's a huge part of this, if not the biggest part of it. I can train anybody when they're highly motivated, when they have that wedding they're preparing for. Yes, they're going to show up, they're going to do the work, they're going to eat exactly right, they're going to prioritize their sleep and their stress management. But
Yeah.
then what happens when they have that shitty ass sleep? They don't have that motivation. Are you strong enough? Have you implemented enough good habits into your lifestyle where you will fall back onto them regardless? I think that's the difference between somebody who succeeds and somebody who doesn't. Do you
Yes.
feel, Anne-Marie, that like when shit hits the fan and life goes awry and you're just like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I'm in a mood, there's so much
Mm.
happening. Can you rely on all of those good habits that you've been implementing for most of your life? Will you fall back on good nutrition? Will you still continue to work out in some capacity? Or do
Mm.
you allow yourself to fall?
That's a great question. I'm definitely not perfect when those days happen, but I know myself well enough that I will feel better when I do these things. So I often give myself a bare minimum. What is the bare minimum workout that you can do? What is the bare minimum like action? I love breath work and meditation, but if I don't feel like doing a whole 20 minutes of it? Can I just sit and, sit and do 2 minutes of it?
Mm.
Sometimes just like turning my shower cold at the end of after the end of a shower, that can be a little like, just shake me out of whatever thing that I'm in. And that's like such a small effort. I don't really love walking on the treadmill, but maybe I'll get to scroll if I walk on the treadmill. Just find a bare minimum effort that will help me feel a little bit better.
I love that. And I don't think enough people talk about that because there is such an all or nothing mentality in life, but heavily in the fitness world. Oh, if I'm not working out 5 days a week for 60 minutes at a time, then I'm going to do nothing. There's nothing in between. And the truth is, and I hear this from people all the time. Oh, well, this week's a little crazy, Kat. Next week is going to be more normal, and then we can get back into the rhythm. It's all life now.
Yes.
This is the reality. Life is crazy. You don't know what's coming. You say that it's going to be normal, but guess what? Inevitably, another thing happens because that's how the world operates. So you've got to be able to set up these good habits and do the bare minimum, like you said, which I love because I do the exact same thing. My bare minimum is, all right, Kat, can you bust out 20 push-ups today? You don't want to move. You don't want to do shit, but can you just do something? And if I can just do those 20 push-ups, then I can go back to pouting. I can go back to being sad. My friends are very sweet, but we have different habits. When they're feeling bad, they go to junk food. And they'll say, oh, Kat, you know what? You should go have some ice cream. And I go, actually, that's not what I need right now. What I need is a beet salad. And I'm defiant in a way where, oh, I feel bad or I'm pissed or I'm sad. I'm going to eat vegetables because that's what I need to balance myself out. I don't need to fuel that fire of poor habits because there's a domino effect there that will spiral out of control. And so I have to like constantly battle that. It's not easy. I think that the folks who appear healthy and are healthy, we have to work just as hard.
And I love that your choice there. That's actually being loving to yourself by choosing something that, okay, maybe it's not what you want, but you know that you'll feel better afterwards. And then you're preventing that cycle because that all or nothing mentality or one domino drops and then it's like, okay, I already didn't eat well today. Might as well not exercise. Might as well not do this. And it's just like stopping that cycle as soon as you can with just some small thing, whether that's a push-ups, whether that's walking on the treadmill, whether that's a beet salad. It's like, okay, how do I do like a pattern interrupt essentially?
Oh, I love that. Pattern interrupt. I love that. It's also making me think of one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits, and not missing more than 2 days of a habit. So go ahead and mope for a day, but by that second day, you need to get back on something, whether it's eating more greens or doing some sort of movement, even if it's just a walk. But habits are very real. And so you're allowed to have your feelings, and I want people to have their feelings, and they can go through big challenges, but designing your life in a way where you fall back on these things that prevent you from just continuing to go downward, I think is essential for long-lasting habits.
Yes, I love Atomic Habits. I love James Clear. I get his weekly email, comes out on Thursdays, and it's one of the things I subscribe to where I'm excited for and I read the whole thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I have been immersed in that world for years and years and years, and I've found that now that I'm in my mid-40s, I'm gravitating more towards the loveliness of life. So I've been subscribing to more poetry and nature and photography and fine art because I love information and I love data, and I used to wear an aura ring religiously, so much so that I sometimes go like this. I have like a phantom ring thing going where I'm like, oh, where's my ring? Because I wore that thing for 5 years, but it's been off my hand for 5 years, and I still am like, it's missing. Where did it go?
That's funny.
Yeah, but I still love data, but I've also discovered that the world is not just numbers and information. It's also about beauty and art and things that are really hard to describe and in some cases indescribable and can only be felt.
totally
I
agree.
I want to know because I had a podcast recently with a very good friend of mine who is a very talented photographer, Ben Duarte. He was talking about the things that make your soul sing, the things that make your heart sing. What is something that makes your heart sing?
Ooh, this is gonna sound so corny, but I have an unnatural obsession with sunsets. Every time, as soon as the sun is setting, I will run outside, take photo. I can't help but take photos of it, sit in it, like stare at it. Yeah, I love them.
And I love sunsets, and who doesn't love a good sunset? I'm going to ask you the same question again. I'd love for you to give me a different answer, something else that you love. And this time, I want to try something if you're open to it. I don't want you to preface your answer with, this is going to sound corny.
Mm.
I just want you to give me your answer. So I'm going to ask you, what is something that makes your soul sing?
Sports.
What about sports? Watching them or being involved in them in some way?
I tried not to like overthink my answer at all, but just watching them, competitiveness. I'm thinking a lot about basketball actually as I say this, but the competitiveness also tied into the beauty. And yeah, it's just I see it is a form of art in a lot of ways. And I don't know, since a small kid, I've been just drawn to it. So I can't really articulate it other than that's like the first thing that came to mind.
I love that. That was so organic. I also love basketball. I used to be on the basketball team in high school for
Mm.
for 1 year, and then I was done because the girls were so much bigger than me, and that was the first time I
Mm.
ever met Samoans at my high school, and I just got destroyed on a basketball court.
Oh my
Um,
God.
did you play basketball?
I did, yes. I played till grade 12, and then that's when I had to kind of choose between basketball and track. And not that I regret choosing track, but I, I feel like my heart actually wanted to play basketball. And since then, I'm like, oh, it's not that it feels like a what if sort of thing, but it's something like, oh, I miss that. And I feel like it never completed its course.
Interesting. I'm envisioning you in some way working with basketball players. I don't know.
I coach kids in it for a while and I loved it.
You
So
did?
yeah.
Oh man,
So
maybe that's something you might need to go back to.
yeah.
That's like me and Girls on the Run because I was one of those girls who ran. And so to be a coach of girls who are running in middle school, it feels so good. So maybe you kids basketball, maybe that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. I'll have to explore that after this call.
Yeah. Well, Anne-Mari, I'm so utterly grateful that we got to learn more about each other today and that you were so willing and vulnerable to share yourself, the things that you're working on, and your very sage advice and your wisdom about health and fitness. There were so many things that you mentioned today that I know, but I have not been reminded of in so long. And it's beautiful to see another person's perspective, especially like our lives are very, very close in alignment. And there's so much crossover and similarity in so many ways, but you can tell that we're very different people.
Yes. It's been so nice chatting with you and you ask such great questions and I can tell that you listen so well and articulate everything so well and it's just been really fun chatting with you and getting to know you better too.
Well, I have a feeling that this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Yay! Well, I'll make sure to disagree with you often.
Yes, girl. Oh my God. You know what? And that's it. That is the end. I love that so much. I want you to disagree with me and challenge me because that's what I thrive on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.